How's it going, all you minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for your overview of the Berserk Deluxe Edition Volume 13 and the Blade of the Immortal Deluxe Edition Volume 8 from Dark Horse Comics. So let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. So what we're looking at here are the latest deluxe editions of Berserk and Blade of the Immortal. And both of these published by Dark Horse Comics. Both of them are mature content. And of course, Berserk kept in the traditional right to left format of the Japanese manga. And then Blade of the Immortal, I think this is the last, if not one of the last remaining manga that is left to right format, meaning that it was mirrored. But they did something very special for Blade of the Immortal. They didn't really make it all mirrored. They cut out the panels. But however, they couldn't help some pages though. Some of them had to be mirrored. Alright, so both of these are in hardcover format. I always like to point out the fact that Berserk has a round spine and Blade has a flat spine. Both of these come shrink wrap because they are mature content, and they come with their own leaflets, telling you a little more about the books and the stories collected in here. For example, this tells you that this volume of Berserk collects issues or volumes 37 through 39 of the Tankobon. And Blade of the Immortal does the exact same thing, letting you know that this collects volumes 23 to 25 of the original Tankobon. And of course, these are bigger than their original American releases. And Blade has always been released here, even when it was in single issues, from left to right format, and Berserk from right to left. Alright, so let's take a look at the spines right there of both of them together, and the backs of each of these books. Both of these are stickers. I just like to leave them on there because I like to peel them off later on. I don't know. I'm weird like that. As I'm rereading them, I peel them off. Both of them retailing for $49.99. Now, they both have a leather finish to it. It's a faux leather finish to both of these. This has, of course, a color picture like the previous volumes in that frame, whereas Berserk has this right here embossed. The brand of the sacrifice. Right there. Alright, so before I crack open, we're going to look at Blade of the Immortal first. I do have to say that I am going to be talking about spoilers from the previous volumes, because there's no way I can even show pictures from here without talking about the previous volumes. I'm not going to go into detail as to who's died, or what ended up happening to them, or how they died. But I am going to be talking about spoilers, and I know some people like going in completely blind, so just in case, spoilers. Alright, let's start with Blade. I'll put timestamps in the description of the video so you can see where I'm talking about Berserk too, if you're just interested in that. So here we have the latest Blade of the Immortal Deluxe Edition. This is Volume 8, Hiroaki Samura's masterpiece. And if you're wondering how many more volumes there are going to be of this, should be 2 more, because the series ended, well, at least in America, with volume number 30. I think in Japan, it ended with volume number 29. Here are all the translations, and of course this is the one that is done by Dark Horse in the left to right format. I really do think this is the last manga that is still translated left to right with the mirror imaging. So about the translation right here, the sound effects are translated, here, let me just show you, within the panels. But the most important thing, of course, that they always like to remind people are about the symbol that Manji has on his back and how the Nazis perversed it and a history about it. And I think it's wonderful. I think I've seen some of my commenters or some of my viewers comment on the video like, how can they not teach this in history class? Well, everybody's history class is different, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't know that until I read Blade of the Immortal when it was coming out in single issues. So a lot of us learn through comics, and there's nothing wrong with that, or manga. Well, anyway, so in the aftermath of the big escape, now comes a time to relax and sit down and unwind. So we finally have seen both Rin and Manji get together after years if you've been reading them as they were coming out, or a couple of months if you've been reading the deluxe editions. But they were finally able to escape the Edo Castle, and they were able to get away from Kagemura. Now, of course, Kagemura formed his new band of soldiers that are going to go after these people, and they're going to go after the Ito Ryu. And, you know, the whole story about Blade of the Immortal is about revenge. So I always find it interesting when Rin and her mortal enemy are just sitting down and almost flirting with each other in a weird way. And it never goes in the way that I thought this story was going to go since the very first volume. The whole story of revenge. And it's been a long time coming. So we start seeing what ends up happening with some of these particular characters that we hadn't seen for a while. A lot of them are reunited. What I really enjoyed about this volume is that you can tell that Samura was starting his last and final arc in this. We start seeing a lot of old characters appear. We're starting to see a lot of the characters reunited, like the Ito Ryu, like Magatsu Taito and Anotsu. They're reunited, so I love the fact that they are together. Actually, Anotsu and Maki have a really good and poetic just relationship in a way. So this is another one that is a page turner. As a matter of fact, the last story arc will leave people hanging like, oh man, how can he just finish it here? So a while back, a few volumes back before this, Anotsu told the rest of the Ito Ryu about the fact that their final strike will come on winter. So winter is here. Hey, winter's coming. And Anotsu and the rest of the Ito Ryu, or some of the Ito Ryu, make a run for the castle. Now, they're after something specifically, right? And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, the character of Kagemura has his own forces now, has his new army, including his daughter that refused to let her father do this by himself. So there's a really interesting fight here between her and, yeah, here we go. This fight right here that's about to start between her and Magatsu. Now the outcome of that will have repercussions on the rest of the story and what's to come. And there are some heartbreaking moments here. Like, you actually start feeling so much pity for the character of Kagemura. The second story arc is all about the Ito Ryu coming in small forces, and it's called Massacre. And as always, the chapters are split up. You get the glossary towards the end of the previous volume, so in volume 23, and then you get volume 24. No color covers. That's about the only negative thing I can say about these collections. I think some people are bothered, of course, by the left to right format, but that's the way that I've always read them, and hell, I'll take that over never reading this in a language that I can read it in any day. So I'm okay with that, and I've been okay with that for decades. So, man, there are some powerful images in this big fight right here. And like I mentioned, we start seeing some characters reunited. And this book is so crazy because there are some heartbreaking, like, shocking moments that happen in the first story arc, in the first volume of volume 23. And then immediately after that, these girls are joking about their boobies. Like, it's that kind of writing that we've come to expect from Blade of the Immortal. It's no different than before. This right here, holy crap, this is so intense, where they just go to the castle. It's just a 4-man team. And maybe some of them don't make it out of there. Then we get... God, look at the violence and intensity of those pages. Then we finally get the return of a character that I can't stomach, but it's a showdown that a lot of people have been wanting for a while, and it's this bastard right here, Shira. Now, Shira is one of the most evilest characters in any form of medium that I've ever read, whether it's movies or books or TV shows, manga, comics, doesn't matter. The things that he does, he's a character that I warn people about. If you're an animal lover, you know, maybe don't read this because of that thing that he fed Rin in a previous volume. But in this, man, he just gets demented and starts torturing. Like, it's rough, like some of the scenes in here. I don't know, maybe I'm just getting older. But yes, he is a psychotic killer. And this time around, he's come with some surprises for Manji. So he kidnaps Rin in this final story arc, and he just has an all-out battle, and I mean an all-out battle with Manji. Now keep in mind, this is also after the escape from Edo, and Manji's only working with one arm. And, you know, we've seen him beat this character before. Dude, and the creepy thing about this character is that he's fighting also with one arm, but the other arm has his bones sticking out of it. Holy crap. And what is he doing with this? Well, I'll leave that for you to find out. And in the back of this volume, you're going to get some extras like this nice piece right here. Some extra artwork and some silly parody stuff from some of the background artists helping out Samura. And then, of course, the glossary found after each of the chapters about the creator and other manga. Man, I love to see that in hardcover format. And then this pinup right here by Hiroaki Samura. Now, this is a book that... So let's take a look at the binding really quick. It is sewn binding. Here's what the eye looks like. And you do get a ribbon. Not a lot of spread pages, but there are some in here. And this is the way that they lay over. Man, this scene right here is rough. Again, this particular volume of Blade of the Immortal Deluxe Edition has 672 pages, retailing for $49.99. The paper stock is this thick matte paper, that the same kind of paper stock that they're using on Berserk, where the blacks are just absorbed so well, making the artwork look absolutely stunning. Because as you know, Samurai has a lot of his art that isn't inked, and it might look like it's not finished artwork. Let me see if I can find some. Like this piece right here. But it is finished artwork, and that looks absolutely stunning on this type of paper. Next up is Berserk Deluxe Edition, Volume 13. Now, this one's going to be hard to talk about. Mainly because we know that the next volume will be the last of Kentaro Miura's Berserk. There are no solicits. We don't know how they're going to handle it. But since this is collecting all the way to volume 39, here are the posters, the two-sided posters, by the way. Anybody buy 2 volumes of these so you can hang up your posters? No, probably not. And again, minor spoilers going into this, specifically about the previous volumes and then what happens in this volume. So yeah, some spoilers, let's just say that. Nothing too big as to how things are resolved or who ends up dying or anything like that. So we know that Kentaro Miura finished volume 41 with, of course, some help. So that means that the next volume will only have 2 tankobons, because these are 3-in-1s. Here's Berserk Deluxe Edition 13. So that means that volume 14 will only have volumes 40 and 41, unless they continue it past when he finished writing it and drawing it. And we have the new mangaka, and they go ahead and collect volumes 40, 41, and 42. I don't know. Or they could just give us volumes 40 and 41 plus like all the sketches and all the extra artwork he did, interviews, whatever it is, I will take. This is Berserk. It's my favorite manga of all time, and it breaks my heart that he didn't get to finish it the way that he wanted to finish it. Yes, I know someone else is taking over. It's his friend. He told him how it was going to end, but it just feels different, you know. It's something I've been following for decades, and it's rough to talk about. This story means a lot to me, to a lot of us. All right, so here are the breakdown of the characters that are going to be appearing throughout these chapters. What's going on with Guts and his gray hair? What's up with that? You can find out by reading the book. See what I mean? I don't like spoiling things. I'll talk about some things, but I don't like to go too deep into spoilers. So this collects volumes 37, 38, and 39. Each chapter right here each book will have different chapter breakdowns. This kind of gives you a quick synopsis as to what's happened previously. For example, right now, Guts is donning the Berserker armor, and he is inside of this big giant sea creature they've been fighting. For those of us that followed these volumes that were coming out here in America, I can't imagine what it was like in Japan, but in America, it felt like we were on that damn boat for years, and I'm happy to report that it is finally over. So how does he defeat this creature? What's going on with the Berserker armor? Is it eating him alive? Is it destroying his life essence? Well, you can find out exactly how he does that by reading this particular volume. So it's kind of the big thing that happens in this volume 37. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, they give you page numbers, right? And they give you the table of contents right before the volume right there. So you see volume 37. Here's where all of that takes place, because they're broken down into the different chapters. And then, of course, where each volume is found. However, there are no pages. So even though they give you the page numbers, there are no pages at the bottom of the book. So you're going to have to take a guess as to where they start. And, you know, we've seen that happen with DC Comics. We've seen it happen with Marvel. Books in this format are, you get hardly any gutter loss because it is sewn. I'll go ahead and tell you. Yeah, it is sewn binding right there. And it is using the same flat matte paper that Blade of the Immortal did. But anyway, towards the end of the first volume, volume 37, that is collected in here, we start seeing this little mysterious kid coming into play more and more, and sort of disappearing. Then we get something really interesting that I always thought Miura added just because he was kind of showing you the strong bond between Guts and the fairies. So we see this flashback of when Guts was a kid. It was his younger age. He gets put into a prison, and you can find out how he gets put in there. And then he starts hearing voices and seeing things. He sees this flower, and out of this flower grows a little fairy. Now, of course, we know that Guts can see Puck, but this was kind of a precursor to that. This was kind of like, look, he's always been able to see magical things. There's something special about Guts. I always thought that this chapter probably didn't need to be in here, but I'm glad it's kept in here, of course, right? I just thought it kind of took away from everything else that was going on, because there's a lot of crazy crap that's going on throughout the entire volume. Then we get to volume 38. Again, no page numbers, but you get the idea. I mean, if you're reading these for the first time, you're going to be going through each page anyway. Now we see a reunion of sorts, and it's not the reunion that we've been hoping for. This is the beginning of the final arc in here. This is when Guts and the gang are on a boat, and they're able to get away from that creature. You can find out how. Rickard and Erica are now they are reunited with a couple of other characters that we hadn't seen together in a long time. So it's interesting how Rickard handles it. A lot different than perhaps Guts would handle that. And of course, I'm beating around the bush, but you could probably tell who I'm talking about. And of course, I'm talking about the reunion between Rickard and Griffith. Holy crap. I remember when this was coming out in the Tankobon format. And I was like, how is he going to handle it? What's Griffith going to do? Holy crap. Does he know? Do they know? Like, so many emotions and so many questions. And you can find out how that's handled by reading that particular volume. But let's move on to the final volume, or the final part of this volume right here, which sees our gang not easily arrive finally at the fairy island. They're attacked by scarecrows. So we kick off volume 39. Again, the chapters